Thank you all for being here today. I'm so amazed. For those of you that are online, you need to notice that your 8-month-old, 80-pound puppy is like hanging tough right there by herself, being good. Yay. We're excited. Pup Patrol program, right? Yeah. What's that called? Yeah. I don't know, it's like an English class. But wanted to introduce Director Ast. She's the purpose and the reason and how we got this program started for the DYS Employee Wellness program. We have Winnie and Mattis, and the director is going to introduce and get the program started here. So thanks for being here in person and online. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me jump in here. I'm going to try to talk to you guys, but also be mindful that my back is to the folks in the room here. First of all, I want to say thank you to Andrea. You know, everything we do starts with somebody's vision, and this program certainly started with Andrea and I just having a discussion with Ms. Frierson on what can we do for our staff who have come off a pandemic and really working in difficult times and dealing with their own things, both at work and in their personal lives from some of what we've all been exposed to over the last 2 years. So I appreciate so much her commitment to this and how this program will grow as Winnie continues to get her certifications, which apparently are working really well because she's really quiet right now. So we're happy about that. Today, I'm excited to have Deputy Metz and Mattis join us to share more about the importance of having a wellness program, but specifically around dogs in our facilities. Deputy Metz has been in law enforcement since 2011, and she served in the Sheriff's Office, in the Corrections Division, Patrol Bureau, and the Community Response Bureau. In 2017, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office began the therapy dog program with Mattis, who is here with us today, who's 5-year-old lab that you can see right here, who's adorable. And Mattis was the first law enforcement therapy dog in the state of Ohio. So we're excited to have her here with us today. So I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Metz and to Mattis. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me okay? Thumbs up. I like that. So prior to my
Hello.
Hello.
I cannot see the presentation. All I see is initials AD.
Anyone?
I am working on it in the background. She's a guest and I'm trying to change her to an attendee, but it's not taking. So once I get it fixed.
Tiffany will handle it.
Tiffany will handle it. Handle it, Tiffany.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So prior to my career in law enforcement, I was a college basketball coach for 13 years. So I can project my voice pretty well. So if you all can't hear me, just, you know, whistle, or if you whistle at me, I'll definitely look. Okay. So this is Mattis, as you guys have already been introduced. He is a 5-year-old English Labrador Retriever. Mattis was a vision of mine that I had a passion about. When I first started in law enforcement after college basketball, you know, everybody told me that law enforcement was just like coaching basketball. Negative. Was not at all. Started off in corrections, was one of the best experiences I could ever hope for. I worked with incredible people, one being her husband. And what it really taught me was how to communicate with each other. And not only that, but you really have to put forth an effort to take care of your people and take care of each other in order to be a successful team. When I got out to the patrol division, I found a lot of things were lacking in our community. In our community, we were struggling to have critical conversations, or what I like to call courageous conversations, with communities that really didn't like police officers. They didn't want us in their neighborhoods. They didn't want us interacting with them or their children. And at that time, it's about 2013, so we're post-Ferguson, Missouri, the Michael Brown shooting. And what we found out in community policing is that we were not doing a good job. We weren't doing a good job of building bridges, and we weren't doing a good job of mending fences and getting to the youth of our communities before they would get arrested. So the sheriff at the time had come to the community relations unit which I'm a part of now, and asked us what were some creative and innovative ways that we could reach out to our community. So now I'm going to reverse you back to when I was a college basketball coach and I was a struggling grad student, working at Marshall University. I found a dog on the side of the road, left for dead. Okay, picked him up, threw him in my car, took him to the vet, and the vet told me he was not going to live through the night. And I said, yeah, he will. And I nursed that dog all night long, and he lived. And I took him to the vet the next day, and he was like, oh, he lived? Yeah, he lived. Darn it, he lived. They're like, okay, well, they, treated him for some injuries, ended up nursing him back to health. Long story short, I adopted him on the day that Kobe Bryant made his basketball debut, with the Lakers, and he was named subsequently Kobe Bryant. Perfect name. That dog was with me for 12 years, okay? What I found out in those 12 years is that I saved his life one time. He saved mine 1,000. So I started thinking, why can't we apply this to policing? When people see a cop with a dog, what do they think of?
Searches.
Searches. What else? Obviously, I'm not interacting with cops with the dog. Chasing. Yeah, suspect apprehension, right? What is it for? It's for the bad guy, right? Drugs, narcotics, explosives, suspect apprehension, tracking. It's all geared towards arrest. So I raised my hand. I was like, excuse me, sir, what about a therapy canine in law enforcement? And that's the exact reaction I got. Do it for everyone. No. I said, okay. Lisa Fernandez would like to enter.
We will let her.
So what there's just something about it. Have you guys ever felt a passion? And I mean, obviously you are in service to others, so you do know what passion and a calling is. But there was something in my heart that just would not let this go. And so I started doing research and the effects of dogs and people and the scientific research behind it, because I can be a geek. And I just kept all that in my back pocket. But in the meantime, I was beating down doors, talking to people. What would you think about this? I was going into communities. What would you think about this idea? Would anybody like to lock arms with us and be a community partner? Why? Because people like free things. And I thought that if I could wrap this up in a box for my sheriff, that he would say yes. So fast forward a year later, same sheriff comes to us. It's now 2015 and says, hey guys, we need innovative, creative ways to reach out into our communities. I raised my hand. Guess what? I wasn't even called on. Said, absolutely not, Metz. Never going to happen. And I went, okay. Can you hear me, guys? Still thumbs up? Great. So I didn't let it go. At that time, there were about 5 agencies across the country that I had found, quote unquote, that were utilizing like a community canine or what they called a therapy canine with their agency. So I called these people up and I said, hey, can you help me out here? What do you use these dogs for? And they're like, just kind of bring to work with me every now and again. They hang out with the dispatchers. They kind of go into roll calls sometimes, maybe to an event, but it's not a regular everyday thing. And I'm like, it's not what I want. I want this to be a legacy. I want this to be something that touches people's hearts enough that other people say, you know what, we're going to do this. My people are important to us and we're going to take care of their needs. So administration change happens, Sheriff Baldwin gets elected, and wouldn't you know it, he comes to meet with the Community Response Bureau. And he says, hey guys, I need creative, innovative ways to reach out to our community. I was like, 3 strikes, you're out, right? I raised my hand. He was like, Metz. And I said, well, I have a great idea. I just don't think you're going to like it. He's like, well, what is it? I said, what about therapy canines in law enforcement? And you could have heard pin drop in the room. And I'm like, crap. Crap. And he's not answering. And I'm like, well, they used to say silence is agreement, right? If nobody says anything, then that's a good thing. Or it's a really bad thing. So he said, well, tell me more. And I went, oh, that wasn't enough. So I told him more and I said, well, I've been doing some research. These are some of the research numbers. You know, ideally what I would like to do is have a puppy, which I was crazy, absolutely crazy. And it could be a good public relations tool. And then eventually what I would like it to transition to is mental health, trauma, victim advocacy. He goes, huh, that's interesting. When can we have a dog? And I went 3 weeks. How much? Free. What about vet? Free. What about food? Free. He goes, okay. I was like, what? Excuse me, sir? So 3 weeks later, Mattis came into our program, had no idea what we were doing. I will be honest about that. And I forgot what it was like to have a puppy. It's terrible. They are like newborns. They have to pee every 2 hours. All they do is eat everything in sight, whining, crying. I didn't sleep for 4 weeks. This dog still wakes up at 4 a.m. every morning for food. He's a lab, by the way. So fast forward, where are we at now? We started off in that public relations thing, okay? I'm gonna be very honest with you. We did a lot of appearances, a lot of events, a lot of different things in our community. And one that I would really, really want to convey to you how this breaks ice barriers, especially with your youth. You know, if you guys ever get to the point where you're interacting with the kids within your services, you will see it break down barriers immediately, okay? We went to the Barrett Recreation Center on the east side. They were having a rally against gun violence. I show up with Mattis, predominantly African-American community over there. And what I saw immediately when I got out of the car was parents pull their children away from me. So then I get Mattis out of the car, and what did everybody see? Let's be honest. Yeah, they see a cute dog, so what do all the kids want to do? They want to pet the dog. So, you know, Mattis is like, I don't know, 12 weeks at the time, so he's like just a bundle of belly. That's all he was, is a head and a tail attached to a belly. And the kids were to come, and their parents would come and just walk away. No, don't talk to her, don't talk to her, don't talk to her. And I would be like, it's okay, it's okay. They just want to say hi to the dog. And let me explain to you what this dog's purpose is. No, it's fine. So the kids would come back. It's over about a course of 30 minutes. Kids would come back. Parents would walk over and take them away. So what happens when the kids come back the third and fourth and fifth time? What are parents getting with? They're getting annoyed, right? And so what do parents do? They stand off a little bit and let their kid interact, which opens a door for me. Because I can say, hey, this is Mattis. He's a new program. He's for our community. He's going to be used for mental health, trauma, and victim advocacy. So when he grows up, he is going to be for the good guys. And the parents would be like, what do you mean by that? So now that ice is breaking down a little bit. Now I can have some critical conversations with families. And that's exactly what I did for months upon months as Mattis was growing up, was I would just take him into community centers and I would have these conversations and build that trust back a little bit in our communities. And those are the same kids that I'm seeing in schools when I'm teaching drug education or internet safety. So now that we have that little bond, and when I bring Mattis into a school, let me tell you, hands down, they don't care about me at all. All right, they don't care. It's all about this dog. It still is. Trust me, I ceased to exist 5 years ago. I had been reduced to a limo driver and a leash holder. That's it. It's all about him, and I'm totally fine with that. So we started having these great conversations with our community. And then we had the unthinkable happen. We had 2 officers killed in Westerville in the line of duty. And I thought, if I take him up there, which you guys don't know, I'm on the honor guard. I'm the honor guard vice president of the sheriff's office. So I do a lot of funerals, unfortunately. I threw him in the car. And I'm dressed in an honor guard uniform and I take him with me to Westerville. And the difference that dog made with those officers and those dispatchers who just went through the unthinkable was amazing. It gave them a reprieve, even if it was just for 30 seconds, even if it was for a minute, for them to relax. And the thing is, guys, what you don't understand is that that's science. There is actual science applied to these dogs. Okay? Interaction with a dog for 30 minutes. For 30 minutes is the same as doing a 2-hour workout. I know, I just gave you an excuse. Go get a dog. Interact for 30 minutes. It's the same as a 2-hour workout. It releases the same type of hormones in your body that exercise does. Okay? When you talk about wellness, and when you talk about wellness of your staff and your people, how do you do that in a stressful environment? What type of tools do you have to reduce that stress in them? And if I ask you guys that, quite honestly, what would you tell me right now? You can't include these guys. Can't include dogs. What would I tell you? What would you tell me? What do you do for each other to reduce stress in your job? Talk? Okay, so we talk to each other, we listen, because there's a difference between talking and listening, right? We gotta really learn to hear people. Really learn to hear what they're saying. What else? We talk and we listen. What else do we do?
Laugh.
Do you laugh? Do you have fun at all at work?
You comfort each
You-
other.
Say again, ma'am?
Comfort.
You comfort, okay? Do you have team lunches?
No.
No? Do you have like team building? Anything that you do together?
We
It's-
hike trails.
You hike?
We do.
Amazing. That's great. So what I'll tell you is the more that you can put into your people, the more productivity you get out of your people. Okay? I will let you know, to be quite honest, when we started this program at the sheriff's office, it was not widely accepted. Okay? It was not. I was teased a lot to the point of what I would call bullying. As an adult, bullying. Okay? However, when you know something is right and you know something is good, you don't give up on it. Okay, just because it might be hard. You just got to be a person that handles hard better. Right? And that's what resiliency is about. Too often in life, what we wait for is it to get easier. We wait for life to get easier. Tomorrow will be better. All right? I'll do better tomorrow. My workload is easier tomorrow. I just got to get through lunch and it'll be an easier afternoon, but it never gets easier. That's not what life is. We have to become resilient. Becoming resilient means becoming people that handle hard better. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So how we handle hard is what matters. So what tools do we have in our pockets or in our tool belt or on my vest do I have to handle hard better? Because if we sit around waiting for it to get easier, it never will. And that could be because your family situation, that could be because of stress at work, that could be because one of the youth you've been working with for a year has just offended again, and now they're locked up again, and you feel like all that work you poured into them and all that passion that you poured into them was a waste. Am I hitting any notes here? Okay. So when we talk about being resilient in our work, what does that mean? What is resiliency? Anyone?
The ability to handle hard better.
Jordan? I had to sweat because my contacts are all fogged up. Jordan is listening. The ability to handle hard better. Some days are good in your work, right? Just like mine. Sometimes they're good, sometimes it's bad. But what can you do today to make it better for just one person? That's why you're here. That's why I do the job I do. That's why your husband does the job he does. Okay? It's because you believe in people. You believe in the ability of people to touch others. So you're using your time, talents, and gifts to try to make the future better for our younger generation. Because we have to get this world right. Because it's not right now. Okay? So when we talk about tools, this is something different. This is something new. This is something that is not widely used. When we started, we were the first law enforcement therapy canine in the state and only the 6th in the country. To date, I field about 50 calls a day from agencies all across the country and Canada wanting to start programs. So now we're up to about 385 agencies across the country, and we're up to about 25 in Canada. I think that's remarkable. Something that we started, that we can take a lot of pride in, but we built it the right way so that it can be modeled, right? When Andrea called me, how many months ago?
4.
Is that 4 months ago? Yeah, she was just a little one, so I picked her up.
July, August. Yeah.
So about 4 months ago, I get a phone call from Andrea, who literally, I feel like jumped into my heart, right? And was saying the same things that I was saying like 5 years ago. And I thought to myself, well, this would be a perfect application. Why aren't we doing it? She was like, well, you know, we're gonna get it approved. I'm like, yeah, been there, done that. Stay the course. We had many, many, many phone conversations. And, you know, the thing is like, I've been through it. So I could help her navigate it. Because it's not something that everybody agrees with or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're finding out how to handle hard better. So these dogs who are so excited right now, and so alive with energy, help make hard better. We had 2 SWAT officers shot last year. I don't know if you guys remember that. It might have been a year and a half ago. The height of COVID. And they were rushed to the hospital. Me being on the honor guard, prepare for the worst, expect the best. I jump in, I take him with me. My job is to go get family members and bring them to the hospital. Okay? So I had one of the deputies' wives and their 2 children with me. And you know, you're trying to remain positive, but nobody's really known how critical things are. And at the height of COVID, guess what? They're not allowed in the hospital. Those kids were outside in a parking lot waiting for their father to get out of surgery and know if he died or not. This guy sat with them for 5.5 hours. And it gave them something else to think about or do while their dad was going through that and they didn't know what was going to happen. So when we talk about science, I'm going to educate you just a little bit, those who are academic people, okay? Dogs, this is not new. Sigmund Freud used these things, okay? It just goes back into the 1800s when people started understanding that interactions with animals made them feel better. How many of you have a pet? I don't care if it's a fish or an ant farm. I don't care. Okay, so the majority of you have a pet at home. Why do you have a pet?
Feel better.
Makes you feel better because there's no judgment.
Unconditional love.
It's unconditional, right? I could go and be gone from the house for 3.5 hours, or I could go to the bathroom for 30 seconds. He will act the same when he sees me. Oh, you went to the bathroom? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in 3 years. You know, that's how they are. They don't care. They don't have the ability to judge people. Imagine if we did that as human beings. Imagine what a world this would be if we did not judge people. Okay? They don't have that capability. But what happens is, how many of you are married? Okay? How many of you have a defining moment in your life where you can say this was the best day of my life? Or a day I'll always remember? Okay? Somebody, I want you to picture that day. And the thing is, sometimes for some people, That's not always the best day of their life. It's just a day that they're always gonna remember. Okay, for me, it was my wedding day. Right? And I want you to think about that day. And I want you to think about all the senses that were engaged in that day. Okay? So let's talk about, for those of you who are married, because I know you. Your sense of sight. Check that off, right? Sense of sound or hearing. Check that off. Taste. Good food that day? People are like, yes, sometimes. I don't know. Like, I didn't really like the reception. I'm not sure. All right? What about your sense of touch? What about your sense of smell? Think about your senses on that day. And what you'll say is four or more were engaged. 4 or more of those senses were engaged. Okay? Think of, why do you think we don't remember things when we're really, really young? We don't have awareness. We don't have awareness of our senses yet. Okay? So when you think of like the youngest memory you have is for me when I was 4. A lot happened in 4 years prior to, I just don't remember it, but the one thing that was poignant for me was my grandmother's death. And I remember her in the casket. And I remember the smell of the room. I remember what she looked like. I remember what my parents were saying. And my grandfather was saying. And I remember I touched her. At 4. I think that's pretty awesome, right? Wasn't the best day of my life by far. I mean, my grandmother was not alive. However, I don't associate it with a bad memory because that was the last time I saw her that I can remember. Okay? So when you talk about that, when people who are in crisis or in trauma or stressed out or anxious, they're blocking off senses. They're stuck in the past or the future or right there in the moment. Okay? So how do I get them out of that loop? How do I get them out of that loop? I have to do something with it. We call it a grounding technique. Okay? Grounding technique. Some people think that's breathing. Maybe it's a fidget spinner. You guys know what those are? Fidgety thingies. Kids all have those poppet thingy doos. I mean, if they have one, they have 30 of them. Okay? One simple thing. I reach down and I start touching a dog. I'm engaging my sense of touch right away, right? What else am I engaging? Feel. Yep, touch. What else? Sight. Can I hear him breathe? Sure, I can hear him breathe. Can I smell him? Good or bad? I can smell his fur. If he farts, I can smell that. His perfect breath. Obviously, I don't want to engage my sense of taste here. That would just be weird, okay? But I've just engaged 4 of the 5 senses. All right, 4 of the 5 senses. So if 4 of the 5 senses, it's impossible for me to be in the past. It's impossible for me to be in the future. I can only be present. That's why animals make you feel good. Because when you go home from a stressful day and you are having a bad day and you walk up to the door and your dog is so happy to see you and you don't smile, you're not human. That's what it's about. It's that release. It's the bringing back to the present. So when we talk about wellness for our people, how often do you feel like being present in the moment could bring people back? A lot. But we don't know necessarily how to do that. Okay? We don't necessarily know how do I get the best out of my people and my team without doing something grandiose. Without spending a ton of money on Panera or B-Dubs or Dunkin' Donuts, whatever it is you guys like to have. Okay? when it simply can sign up and be like, you know what, can you bring Winnie through or stop by with Mattis? And just let me say hi. Does that make sense to everybody? So when we do those type of things, it's about, for me, it's different. I'm more of a secondary response. We do wellness, but most of our work is gauged in the juvenile justice system. Our dogs go to court with children who have been sexually abused. They do forensic interviews. They do all that. So the statistics law enforcement wise are pretty good, where we get disclosures from juveniles 87% of the time when they use our dogs. Pretty awesome. Where opposed to what the disclosure rates before were about 37%. So it's a pretty significant jump for us. Our dogs had 50 convictions, 24 of which have resulted in prison time of 10 years or more. So when we talk about our community, now we are changing that mindset a little bit of, when do people call the police, guys? Crisis? Is it the best day of their life or the worst day of their life? The worst day of their life. You guys know how trauma works, right? So every time they see a police officer after that moment, that's a trigger. Regardless if they go back into that trauma or not, they're still being triggered, okay? So they could still be triggered, but then they say, hey, you know what? That was the worst day of my life. But you know what? They helped me too. They got me out of that situation, but then they saw me through the process of whatever justice looked like for me. And they had a dog, and that dog went to court with me. So now we're changing a culture. Does that make sense? So same thing with you guys. You guys work with kids who are already behind the 8 ball, so to speak. And what are you trying to, what is your mission? Here I'm testing them. See if they come up with it. What is your mission? Save and transform lives, right? Before what? For what?
They go back into.
Okay? And then what happens once they go back into the community? So you're working with juveniles. What happens if you don't reach them? We're gonna re-victimize. We're re-victimizing, right? Which it's like a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle after that. And then what happens when they turn 18? We get them. And the justice system is unpredictable at best, right? So now we are risking not only our youth in our communities, the future of our communities with our youth, but now we are right back behind the 8 ball with these guys because we didn't reach them in time. That can be stressful. That can be stressful for you guys. You guys are taking a lot on your shoulders. A lot of responsibility, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of passion. And I wouldn't be here today talking to you guys if that wasn't the case. Because just as much as I felt it was a calling to be a police officer, you felt that calling to work with the youth who are troubled. And you're passionate about it. And thank God we have people like you. Thank God for the work that you do. Because you know as well as I, we can't save them all. But if I can save one, I can maybe change. That ripple might become a wave, and that wave might become a tsunami, and that family might be changed forever. So utilizing these dogs are just another tool in your tool belt. Just like I wear a gun, a tourniquet, all this stuff every day, it's just another tool that you can put in your pocket and say, you know what, I'm not reaching this person. Or I don't feel like our staff is connecting. I don't feel like I'm getting the potential out of my staff. Maybe we have a dog day. We have 18 dogs in Franklin County now, signed to law enforcement agencies or public agencies. It's incredible. I know this because they all come and train with me. Right?
Yeah. They're in our class.
They come and train with me. Okay? And every quarter we get together and we talk about what are your challenges? What are you seeing? How can we help you in your workplace? And a lot of the dogs are being used for officer wellness or staff wellness. What does wellness look like for you? Testing, that was not hypothetical. What does it look like for you now? What is wellness to you?
You know the answer, that's.
What is wellness to you, guys? I'll give these guys a break. What is wellness to you?
Feeling healthy, feeling in touch with the present, being in the now.
Okay, anybody else?
Balance,
Balance of what?
just having a good balance between, your personal life and your work life.
Okay. What else?
There might be
Feeling
some
safe
things in the
to
chat.
ask for and receive help.
Ooh, really, really good one. Ask and receive help, being able to have that confidence or that courage to ask for help. To understand that not being okay is an option. It's an option, and we've all gone through that option. All right, we all have. So being not okay is okay too. What about family life? Let's go back to balance. What about family? We do have families.
Yes.
I think with balance, you have to, there's so many different aspects of your life that you kind of want to be balanced. So, your spiritual life, your relationships, intimate relationships, work, play, trying to think of all the other ones, your intimacy,
Finance.
fun, finance. Yeah. So everything, if it
Very
can be
good.
balanced, you're not off the loop. And there are times when you get off the loop because either all of a sudden your social life is like really, really big and you're going out all the time and it's like everything else suffers, or your finances are like you're spending money all over and it's like, okay, then everything else kind of suffers. But if you keep everything kind of, I'm preferring to a wheel because that's how I picture it, like a balanced wheel. And if they're all pretty much equal around the wheel, then you're going to feel balanced.
Sure, we call it the 360 degrees of wellness, right? Not only with our work life, our personal life, our social life, our financial life, our spiritual life, our emotional life, our psychological life. It's all connected. Okay. And I want to leave time for some questions and answers because as you can't tell, I'm pretty passionate about this subject. One thing I will say to you, if you guys aren't taking care of yourself as a person, like your person, you can't be anything for anyone else. So if you don't take care of you, that could be 5 minutes. For me, I get to spend all day with my best friend. Okay, so do we have stressful days? Yes, 100%. We responded to a quadruple homicide on Monday. Is it stressful? Yes. But at the end of the day, if I take 5 minutes, I can still be present for my spouse. Okay, I don't have to take that heaviness in my heart home with me. Having rules for you, your person, your good self-awareness, your self-meaning, who you are and why you exist. You have to have that in place, or you can't be anything to anybody else. Does that make sense? All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox a little bit because this is about the dogs, but when we talk about wellness, you guys have no idea the impact these guys make on just the little things. You guys, we were walking through today and I had like 3 people. Where are they? Are they signed in? Stop and be like, I wish I could be in the room. Who said that? Who wants to admit it? There we go, Debbie. I wish I could be in the room, but people were smiling. People, although they didn't really care to talk to me, they wanted to pet Mattis. Right? Already we're breaking that ice barrier a little bit. Already people are like, oh, it's a dog, it's cute, right? So that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's a very simple tool that makes a world of difference that you cannot put a return on investment on. All right, it's priceless. So at this time, I want to open it up for questions you guys might have. We do a lot of different things in law enforcement with Mattis and our dogs. But I really want to answer your questions. And anything that you guys have that you want to shoot at me. If I can have maybe Andrea kind of watch this side and you have to ask questions, by the way.
We will, why don't we do in person first, and then if you have questions in the chat, Tiffany is gonna help moderate. So we'll do in person first. I know Sonia has a question. We're gonna start with her.
Sonia?
This past week, I always take off and work the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So that was an adventure. But anyway, I noticed that some of the dogs typically had the K9 on them, and then other ones had K2. What is that? Is there any difference in the dog
K2.
on their vest?
So those are detection dogs. So when you talk about the Hall of Fame, you're talking about explosive detection and probably drug detection.
Okay.
So K2 might have been like the rank of the dog, or kind of like, it could be a ton of different things. But they're most likely detection dogs. They're just classified that way.
Okay.
So you guys know the difference between a service animal and a therapy animal?
No.
Okay, so a service animal, Mattis is technically a service animal. Okay, he's been trained in assistance work. He can open a mailbox and bring me the mail. He can open doors, he can shut off the lights. He picks things up off the floor, like my keys and my quarters and whatever. So he's been trained that way. However, his job is a therapy canine. So a service canine is for one person who depends upon that dog for life function. Okay? You've heard of medical alert dogs. There are stability dogs for people who might not work, have cerebral palsy, people who can't bend over. That person is dependent medically to live their life with this dog's assistance. Therapy canines aren't necessarily for the handler, although they do have benefits. They're for others, more than one. Okay? So their job is to give love, assurance, confidence, all those type of things to others, not to one person. Right? So is also a lot different than emotional support animal, which is basically just your pet. Because if you have a cat and you love that cat, that's your emotional support animal, right? If you have a fish and you love it every day, and you wake up like Free Guy, Goldie, hi Goldie. That is your emotional support animal. There's no title to that. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the differences. Very good question. Did they find anything? They may have.
They were just everywhere, and it was more, they seemed to be more pups. I call them pups.
So it could be
Hyper.
training.
They were hyper, a little more hyper.
Yeah, so it's a different drive. When we look at therapy, when we look at service, you want dogs who have the ability to be calm, confident, yet awesome temperament. And temperament is just how they act. You guys saw Mattis got excited when he came in today, but as soon as I put him in a command, he chilled out. Detection dogs, their drive is go, 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 constant. And that's the way we want them. We want them motivated all the time. So that's the biggest difference, is that prey drive for them. And they're very happy.
I think Alex has a question.
Alex?
Yeah, I guess to build off that, have you ever seen agencies who want to cut costs and say, oh, we want a therapy dog, but he also
Yes.
needs to be trained in detection? And does-
Unfortunately, I've had a few of those calls. I don't recommend that at all. And the reason why is that what I just explained, the drive is so different. And then, for us, how I try to explain it is when you're working with a therapy canine in law enforcement, it's for interaction with your community, right? I'm in an event. I am not there necessarily, maybe I'm there to support family, like I went to Dayton. I was there supporting the 4 families, okay? What if they have a family member that does drugs? And my dog's constantly alerting on that person. That becomes embarrassing. It's the same difference if I'm in a school and a child has parents who deal drugs, which is, we all know that happens. And that my dog is alerting on their backpack. they're not paying attention to the child, then it becomes a conflict of interest for me because I'm not doing my purpose. Now I'm enforcing the law. Now he's not for the good guy, he's for a bad guy. Does that make sense? Yeah.
When do you pet and when do you not pet?
When do you pet and when do you not pet? It's always good to ask the handler, hey? For example, if for us, if somebody asks me, I'll always let them pet. Typically, service dogs, you do not ever pet. Working dogs, you do not, like, police canines, you never pet. Unless you're given permission. These guys, that's what they want. So when people say, hey, can I pet your dog? Absolutely, that's what he's for. But again, I kind of fight that a little bit when, say I'm leaving and I know Mattis is really tired. It takes a lot out of these guys when people are really stressed or emotional because all that emotion and stress goes straight into your dog. So we went to Dayton on Monday. He slept for 2 days. I just was able to wake him a little today. It just, they take in all that negativity. They take in all that stress and that emotion. I always tell people they're a conduit for your animal. And how do I release that in my dog? I play with them. I let them do fun things. I take them for walks. And they are much more resilient than humans. So for a therapy dog, you can pet anytime.
I've seen them in hospitals now too, where you see
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah. Typically, you see a lot of therapy dogs in hospitals, nursing homes. I'm gonna be honest, we went to the hospital one time. It's just not what we do. And it was for end of life care for a child. The child's last wish was to pet a dog. So we brought Madison, they dispatched me. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I got Mattis dressed and we went over to Children's and she pet him and passed away shortly after. So very special type of things like that we will do, but most of the time it's more in the process of law enforcement. Yeah.
Where do you get your dogs and who makes the cut?
Ooh, good question. So I went to school to become a master canine trainer for the sheriff's office because I really thought it was important that I was able to evaluate all the dogs that were coming to us. Because I kind of wanted to be the benchmark and I didn't want a dog to fail and then be a black eye on the department. So I call it temperament testing. So when they're about 12 weeks old, I go and I temperament test them. I talk to breeders regularly, tell them exactly what their job's going to be, that they're going to be able to have to hold commands for long periods of time. And what we do is we do different tests. And a lot of that is something you've probably seen. You flip them over on their back. If they fight you for more than 2 minutes, it's probably not a good dog. If they give in within a minute, it's okay, dog. If they immediately submit, you're good.
Reach into their food?
Yeah, we work with food. I touch them in very sensitive areas, trying to get a reaction, a physical reaction. Their paws, I pull on their nails. I don't torture them. Okay.
The kids do.
Kids do. And that's the thing is I can't have them reacting to a child that sticks their hand in his mouth.
Yes.
Because that happens. So we make sure that there's no reactivity there. And then I know from like a scale of 1 to 5, who would be my first choice and who would be my last choice. And then we just go from there.
Mary Kate Francis. No.
We have quite a few questions.
After Jordan.
Okay. Let me get Jordan real quick and then I'll come to you guys, okay?
We have
Perfect.
about 10 questions online.
So just to confirm, the process needs to start when they're very young.
So it doesn't have to.
Okay.
Temperament in a dog doesn't change unless they're raised to be vicious or something different, okay? We personally, myself, have picked out 6 dogs from our shelter in Franklin County as therapy canines for other agencies across the country. We've gotten 6 so far. One was a pit bull, to be honest, out at the Tempe Police Department in Arizona. And we have a Great Dane lab mix out in Pennsylvania. We have a couple retrievers right here in Ohio. Forget what the other one was. It was a weird breed. I called it a Heinz 57 because I couldn't figure it out. It's just a mutt. But rescue is also a viable option. For me, starting the program, I wanted to be a clean slate. For me, that was just my personal preference. Just because I knew that if we brought him in and I didn't know the past history and I couldn't predict something, I would be behind the 8 ball and I didn't want it to fail. It was important to me that it succeeded with the sheriff's office.
Makes sense.
Go ahead, Tiff.
Tiff?
We've had quite a few questions online. Some of them you've already answered, so I'm going to kind of skim through them. And if we find we didn't answer one later on, we can always go back and type in a response. But I know that you offer training for others. Can you talk a little bit about the program? Because that's where Andrea and Winnie have gone through, correct?
Yes. So right now, Andrea and Winnie are coming to our quarterly trainings. So what we do as the sheriff's office is, because there was nobody there to help us, we decided that if anybody wanted to start this program and they were in the public safety field, that we would help them. We would train them. We would help their dogs get certified. We are all testers and observers for the certifications that they would need. We would do all of that for them free of charge. So Andrea and Winnie have been coming to our quarterly trainings. Our next one is next Thursday. And they are getting ready to attend our school in November, which will be very intensive for 5 days. And they will obtain all certifications except for one, which she'll be one when?
December 21st.
She won't get to the therapy certification until she turns 1 year of age.
Okay.
So we do that for anybody across the country. So we have 2 weeks coming in November. I have 13 agencies coming from out of state. The first week I've got 14 agencies coming from in-state, in the state of Ohio. And I'm also going out to Oklahoma in October to train Oklahoma agencies and North Texas agencies free of charge. We don't charge a cent.
And thank you. One of the questions that seems to be going on is how many hours a day is she kind of he working, I guess? Does he have a restriction of how many hours a day he can work, and how often does he require a break?
Those are all really good questions. Mattis works as long as I do. Okay. Mattis works whatever hours I do. However, there is downtime, okay, where he'll be in his cruiser or we'll be at the office. So typically what I do is when we are working or he is interacting with the public, it is my job as the handler to read his behavior. If he starts to move around a lot, if he starts to look anxious or start panting, I know he needs a break. And then I will take that 10, I'll say, hey guys, I gotta take Mattis to the potty, he's gotta pee. And we go outside, I throw a ball with him for a little bit. I let him go relieve himself. Mattis at 5 has done like 4 hours on the stand in the courtroom. So he can go a long time, but he couldn't do that at 8 months. Does that make sense? He might be interact for 30 minutes to 45 minutes and I would have to take him outside to pee. So he didn't pee on somebody when he gets excited. So that's just about learning your dog's behavior. But he has worked 16-hour days with me and he's worked 2-hour days with me. So he just comes to work with me every day and whatever our day ends up being is his day.
And you kind of already answered the next question. Somebody asked how many hours a day you keep the dog with you. And so can you tell kind of what happens when Maddox is not on the job?
He's still with me 24/7. We have a very strict routine. So when I get ready for work, and I started this when he was very young, when I would get my vest on and I put my gun belt on in the morning, Mattis goes to the door and sits. And we started that very young. And then I bring his vest and I put it on and I snap it. And the next motion is opening the door and I say, let's go to work. He hops right in the cruiser. When I come home from work at night, we also have a very strict routine. I sit him at the door. Before I even put my key in, I take his vest off, I open up the door and I say, go be a dog. That's how I end his day, every day. And then luckily Mattis and I have a couple hours before the other lab gets home and my spouse gets home, and we have a couple hours to debrief. So that could be playing outside, that could be going for a walk. We always try to do something active to kind of get that negativity that he sees during the day or he experiences during the day off of his spirit. So that it's important we talk about wellness, not only do things for you, but when you have a therapy canine that's dealing with stressful situations, you have to find ways to deal with their wellness as well.
Thank you. And then we have a question specifically for Winnie. They want to know what her preference for petting is. Side of the body, top of the head, ears, where she likes to be petted when she's in the office.
So thank you for asking. I would say anything is fair game.
Anything is fair game, she
Anything
said.
is fair game. She loves water bottles, empty water bottles.
You do have to watch her around cubicles though.
Yes. She also plays fetch.
And then I think the last question, most of the other ones you've kind of answered as you've talked, but somebody wanted to know specifically the process of signing up for the training. You mentioned it's free for certain people, so they're kind of interested in the details of that, which maybe we could give to them in the via email or something later on, but that was one of the other questions that came.
I am going to have cards. I'm gonna leave cards for everybody. It has all my contact information on the back of it. I'm not supposed to say this, but I do have a side hustle.
That's okay.
A side hustle for those that may be interested. However, everybody has the freedom to contact me via my work email address. And then we can answer those questions and I can deal with them more on an individual basis, if that's okay.
They can also go through me.
And then go through Andrea as well.
Because I know we have some DRC folks on the phone. So Nicole and I have spoken. We can talk as well.
And I think the only last question was maybe specific to when you're, maybe Andrea, this is for you with Winnie. She's for staff, but does she interact with the youth as well?
So as of right now, this is a pilot program, and what we're doing is she's specifically for DYS Employee Wellness. She's part of that program. If a youth is in need and we are in a facility or they want it planned, we can certainly discuss it. But we want to make the distinction that the Pup Patrol program is very specific to the DYS Employee Wellness program. And for the DYS staff.
I think that's all the questions so far online. If anybody has one that I've missed, feel free to take yourself off mute and shout it out. But that's what I've been looking through the chat and saw.
Yes.
Tiff, are there any other questions? Portia might have one.
Yeah, actually just had a comment. Great presentation, by the way. But I'm just amazed at how I feel toward these dogs. It's more of a calming experience. When I'm online, I'm just looking at them, but I feel really just a sense of peacefulness just looking at them. And it just reminds me when I worked for public safety. I used to work at out north. It was with Highway Patrol District 6. And every now and then they would bring their canine through, especially through the parking lot. And it's amazing how the experience I have now with German Shepherds, it's like a completely different experience than when I look at these dogs. But I just had to say that it's just a nice feeling.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you sharing that.
And Tiff, do you want to say what has happened behind the scenes? A lot of thank yous, gratitude.
Oh, yes, we're getting a lot of great presentation, awesome presentation. Thank yous. Thanks for both of your service. Thanks for the awesome work that you do. Just a lot of gratitude and thank yous that are coming through online.
I appreciate you guys, and trust me, I thank you for what you do. We're one team, one fight. You're just wearing a different uniform, okay? Thank you for what you do. It's appreciated.
I want to just make a comment too. you listed all those qualities of everything that he does. Is he single? Because that is like the perfect man. Oh my God. I want you to train my husband.
Not a taken.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
that's great.